Hello and welcome back to Off the Post. In today's episode, I'll be discussing whether Tottenham can get out of their slump against Liverpool. But before that, as always, please like, comment, and subscribe. It's very much appreciated, and it goes a long way of helping me build a small community on my channel. Okay, we've recently just hit 262 subscribers. Can we go and get the big 300? Hopefully, we can sometime soon. But because I'd be absolutely over the moon, I'll be absolutely buzzing with that. But anyway, let's get straight into the episode, shall we? For me, one of the big games of the weekend is Tottenham versus Liverpool, and for me especially, right, this is a lot on the line, just because both teams, one's in 7th, one's in 11th, so from that point of view, Liverpool will be hoping to try and qualify for those top four positions, and then Tottenham will be hoping to get back on their form and try and find some momentum to build upon in the upcoming weeks in this season, okay, because at the moment, you got to think to yourself, Thomas Frank has had some questionable weeks as a Spurs manager so far this season, hasn't he? Just because, right, if you look at his past 5 games in the game weeks, okay, if you look at his past 5 games, he's lost 3, drew 1, and only won 1 game in the last 5, okay? So from that point of view, it's just not good enough by anybody's standards. Thomas Frank was meant to come in and, shore things up at the back and make sure, Tottenham weren't conceding so many goals as they were last season, but you just can't say that in the past 5 game weeks because they conceded 4 against Arsenal, conceded 2 against Fulham, conceded 2 against Newcastle, and also conceded 3 against Nottingham Forest. So from that point of view, they're conceding goals galore, aren't they? Their defence is in absolute shambles this season. For whatever reason it is, their defence, their goalkeeper, Fikario. For me, I probably would blame them. I probably would blame Fikario more than some other defenders in there because I really do like that partnership of, Mickey van der Ven and Romario. I feel like them two are perfect. Well, I think them two have got a good partnership in there. I don't mind the fullbacks. For me, Pedro Porro, don't get me wrong, he's okay. He's okay defensively. He's probably a better attacking wise. For me, I just don't know. I can't really trust him defensive wise. And then Jed Spence as well. Again, he was having a good run of form in recent months, but at the moment, I don't know. He just seems to be off it as well, conceding a lot of goals for Spurs as well in there. But for me, Vicario is just a shadow of his former self. That first season, right, that he had with Spurs, he was looking so promising, but at the moment, he just keeps on making so many mistakes. And one thing I don't like about Vigario as well, at the moment, right, he keeps on blaming his other defenders, his centre backs, his midfielders, his full-backs as well. He keeps on blaming everybody for conceding goals, where he probably should be looking to himself, especially in some of the recent games, you should probably be doing way better. If you look at a goal against Nottingham Forest where Archie Gray sort of passed it back to him and he sort of got put under pressure by one of the Nottingham Forest forwards, okay, that was completely Vicario's fault, okay. You can't blame anybody except from the goalkeeper. Why are you putting Archie Gray under pressure like he did, playing out from the back like Leao? Don't get me wrong, I know a lot of teams like to play out from the back because it is a good way how to sort of catch out your opponents, but I feel like considering you've played out the back so many times for so many years now, you should be used to knowing, when to hoof it up the pitch, when to boot it up the pitch in those certain situations. And that situation with Archer Gray was one of those where you can't be blaming that midfielder for your own mistakes, okay? Don't get me wrong. Saying that, I don't think the midfield of Archie Gray and Bentancur worked in that game. For whatever reason, I don't think that was enough defensive steel, defensive stability in that midfield. I feel like you need someone like a Yao Palhinha back in there. You need someone like who else is in there? Who else is in there that got in midfield? Someone like Papier Sarr. Going with Archie Gray and Bentancur is the right play for this Liverpool game. I feel like he probably will. I feel like Thomas Frank will probably leave out Archie Gray and he probably will be sitting on the bench this game just because of the mistake he made. He can't be making another mistake against Liverpool because they've got the players to punish them. When you think about the overall performance of Spurs this season, they were so strong at the start of the season, okay? When they had all their players fit, they was absolutely looking like an amazing side. They was playing some fantastic football, getting on the front foot, creating a lot of chances for the wingers, for the strikers to score some goals. At the moment, because they've got so many injuries to the likes of James Maddison, Kulusevski, there's another one, Dominic Solanke. I just feel like at the moment their attacking players aren't really creating enough chances to score you the goals to win you the games, and I think that's why there's a lot of question marks around Thomas Frank. For me, I don't think Thomas Frank should be getting sacked whatsoever. That is just my personal opinion. I think he's the right man for the job. At the moment, he's conceding too many goals and he's losing too many games. So from that point of view, Spurs being in 11th, it's better than last season. No doubt about that. Okay, for me, I don't think there should be question marks around Thomas Frank, just because we've seen the great job he's done at Brentford for all those seasons. Okay, for a good 2 or 3 years at Brentford, maybe in 4 years, he was absolutely amazing. And considering the low budget he had at Brentford and how he got the best out of those players, I think just give him time, give him to the end of the season at least, and then maybe judge him at the end of the season, where he finishes at the end of the season. What would be a good season for Tottenham Hotspur? I want to say a top 10 finish. I want to say if you get 7th or 8th, I think overall, the Spurs fans should be happy with that. Maybe a nice little good cup run as well, just considering how strong the teams are this season as well, the other teams, sorry. Okay, if we bring it over now to Liverpool, we mentioned their last 5 games of the season, okay. They've won 2, drew 2, and lost 1, okay. Notably losing against Nottingham Forest 3-0 against Nottingham Forest, an absolutely crazy result, okay. And also Tottenham Hotspur lost 3-0 against Nottingham Forest as well. So, even though we said that team's not really performing to the heights that they were last season now, beating some big teams here and there as well. So yeah, for me, it's a strange one when you think about Liverpool's season, because they've spent so much money, spent the most amount of money in the Premier League this season, like 400, 500 million, I'm pretty sure, something crazy like that. And they're not competing for the league title at the moment, are they? Which is so strange to say, especially how amazing they were last season. They're currently 7th in the league. Mohamed Salah's not on form. Who else is not on form? Pretty much the whole front three, except from Hugo Ektike, I'm pretty sure at the moment. He's scored 4 goals in the last 2 games. Scored 2 against Leeds. Scored 2 against Brighton to win the game. Absolutely amazing. So from that point of view, I think Hugo Ektike is probably the danger man in this game, the ones to watch out for Tottenham Hotspur, the sort of target, and potentially, say to themselves, you need to absolutely double up on him, triple up on him, whatever, quadruple up on Hugo Ektike to sort of mark him out the game, if you like, because I think he's going to potentially go on and score another 2 to 3 goals in this game potentially. And for me, even though Liverpool aren't doing that well in recent weeks, haven't done that well overall this season, I think in recent weeks, in the last 4 game weeks at least, winning 2, drawing 2, they are starting to find their form slowly but surely, and hopefully they can fight for those top 4 positions, potentially challenge for those, Premier League title as well. They might make like a late push for that Premier League title and probably just fall short. That's how my thinking is at the moment. I feel like at the moment Man City and Arsenal are just 2 clear favourites ahead of Liverpool at the moment for me. I feel like Liverpool probably too far behind them. And also you've got to think about the whole Mohamed Salah situation. Is he going to leave in January? We're not sure. The midfield's not really performing that great, and the defence as well. For me, I think Liverpool do need another centre-back in there. I think the Van Dijk-Konate partnership isn't as good as it used to be last season, at least anyway. The right-back situation with, Jeremy Frimpong and Connor Bradley's not really performing that great either. But for me, the clear favourite in this game would be Hugo Ektike, just because of the amount of goals he's scoring this season. He's scored 4 goals in 2 games, absolutely on fantastic form at the moment. He's 4 in the league, isn't he? And for me, I highly rate this striker. Don't get me wrong, like I said previously, I didn't know anything about this guy. Coming from the Bundesliga, coming from Frankfurt, we knew he scored a few goals in the Bundesliga, in the German league. However, I didn't think it would translate this well as it has done this season, especially considering you've had the likes of Alexander Isak, you know, in the pecking ahead of him in the pecking order, considering the amount of money they've spent on him at least, anyways. And then you've got Flivian Wirtz in there, who's not really performing that well either. He's slowly but surely having moments of magic in there, but overall performance in those 90 minutes, he's not doing enough for me. So I'm just not too sure about him. Mohamed Salah, I'm not too sure about. If we look at their lineup, McAllister is always a consistent performer. Slobosvoy is almost a consistent performer as well. He's sort of replaced Mohamed Salah in that right wing position in recent weeks. He's done an okay, steady job in there. He's not really provided that many assists or goals, really, of note at least, anyway. But yeah, even Joe Gomez playing right back is a little bit one that I did not expect at the start of the season. So from that point of view, I feel like they are starting to find their form again, and I feel like if I had to give a nice little score prediction, I'm gonna go 3-1 Liverpool. Okay, even though I started the episode by saying can Spurs get out of their slump, I just don't see it, especially when you consider both teams' forms at the for the last 5 game weeks at least. Anyway, it's just because I just don't think, for me, I don't think Spurs have recovered since losing 4-1 against Arsenal like 5 weeks ago. I just don't think they've recovered since that, and it's clear to see because they lost to Fulham the week after. They drew to Newcastle. Okay, yes, they did get a 2-0 win. Yes, they did get a 2-0 win against Brentford, but they lost recently against Nottingham Forest as well, 3-0. So from that point of view, I just don't see them winning Liverpool. I'm not going to lie. Don't get me wrong, the Spurs are at home. They're at the, Spurs, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, so they could potentially get a victory over the line, but I just don't see it. Best case scenario could be a nice little 2-2 draw, maybe. Maybe let me know in the comments down below your thoughts. Uh, can Spurs get out of a slump against Liverpool? Who do you think the main favourites are in this game? Do you think Liverpool will have the edge over Spurs considering what they've done in recent weeks? Do you think Mohamed Salah will start in this game for Liverpool? Do you feel like Albert Paulinho will start in the midfield for Tottenham Hotspur? Do you feel like Archie Gray will start, or will Thomas Frank leave him out? Do you feel like Thomas Frank deserves to get sacked, like a lot of Spurs fans have mentioned or spoke about it in social media in the recent weeks? How would you feel about Thomas Frank potentially needing more time because of the injury issues? How do you feel about Arne Slot this season while Liverpool? Do you feel like he could potentially get sacked as well, considering their bad run of form, being in 7th place in the Premier League? And yeah, those are all my questions. But before that, as always, please like, comment, and subscribe. It's very much appreciated. It goes a long way having me build a small community on my channel. We've recently just hit 262 subscribers, and all the support on our most recent videos and the likes and the comments on social media definitely is going unnoticed. And I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.